Hey Broncos fans, we'll get into today's video in just a minute, but I want to open with a question for you guys, and it's a big focus on today's show. What's your level of confidence in the future at quarterback? You can rate on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you're very worried as hell. 10 being, hey, not worried at all. We're going to be just fine. This is a playoff team. This could mean whether you want Drew Lock as quarterback, whether you think they'll acquire a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, maybe even in the draft. But let me know, pin comment down below, first comment right underneath this video, your level of confidence. And now, let's jump on in. Hey guys, Sam Brown here, host of the Broncos Breakdown. As always, you can find me on Twitter at SamBrownCS, trying to get some more Broncos coverage there for you guys. We're going to jump into the latest Broncos news and rumors, and we're starting with an interesting article that I found on ESPN the other day with Jeremy Fowler, where he ranked all 32 teams or divided them into tiers based on the necessary offseason overhaul within their organizations, and classified Denver as a team, quote, stuck in quarterback purgatory, which I'll dive into obviously a little more later on. The big question obviously revolves around who will start at quarterback for Denver in 2021, whether it's Drew Lock, a trade target like Watson, or a quarterback prospect in the 2021 NFL Draft. Now, this is the list of teams that were in quarterback purgatory. You've got the Chicago Bears, who obviously drafted Mitchell Trubisky and have been suffering ever since. The Washington football team, who's actually in a decent spot to get a quarterback with their salary cap space, but obviously still doesn't have one on their roster right now. You've got the Carolina Panthers, who were very aggressive in trying to get Matthew Stafford, are looking probably to trade away Teddy Bridgewater and upgrade under center. You've got the Broncos, obviously, and then you've got the Cowboys, who obviously royally botched the whole Dak extension. This is not the list of teams you want to be involved in. You'd much rather be in a team in a spot where they're comfortable at quarterback and moving forward have a solid framework under center and the pieces around them to contend in 2021. There's no doubt about it. George Paton's got a decision to make this offseason, and it's one that we've talked about numerous times on this show already, and we'll continue to talk about it moving forward. Does he stick with Drew Lock? Does he look to upgrade under center? He was already aggressive in the Matthew Stafford trade, willing to offer that number 9 pick and Lock for the former Lions quarterback. But he's starting to run out of time to decide whether Lock is going to be his guy or whether Denver should look to upgrade under center. It's a very interesting situation. Like I said, quarterback purgatory is not a spot you want to be in the offseason. And I know we talk about not wanting to give up too much for a price target like Watson and stuff like that. But at the same time, you need a game changer under center, and Lock has yet to prove fully, consistently that he can be that. So I'll ask again, the pinned comment down below, the first comment you see underneath this video. I want to hear from you guys what your level of confidence is at quarterback on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you're very worried, 10 being you're not worried at all. The Broncos will be just fine heading into the season. Let me know down below. I want to hear from you guys. And we're going to be doing more news and rumors videos like this throughout the offseason. If the Broncos do make a move at quarterback, we'll have a video to let you know. You know, I usually am a producer here at Chat Sports, but I'm sure the bosses are going to pull me off the computer, get me up off the desk, throw me in front of the camera, and get me to cut a video for you guys. So be sure to subscribe, turn on your notifications too, a huge part of it. That way, whenever we put a video out, pops up right on your phone, click, and you can watch the video. All right, another article that I caught yesterday. Should the Broncos sign a cornerback in free agency? Fansided pitched 12 different free agent corners that the Broncos could sign this offseason. And it's a free agent class that's deep with talent, a lot of high stock options that might cost a lot, but also several buy low, high value prospects that Denver could go out and get. And I'll break down a few that kind of stood out to me. The first one that I saw is from the Tennessee Titans, formerly of the Chargers, Desmond King, the low nickel or the buy low nickel kind of player for Denver. I think he can challenge Deontay Spencer in the return game as well, but also offers the Broncos some flexibility in corner, being able to slot Bryce Callahan outside. Had a solid year last season after being traded mid-season from the Chargers to the Titans. 54 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. Obviously had 2 PBUs and 2 sacks. I think he fits well in that nickel spot. He showed some flashes in the past despite having kind of a down year in 2020, but he was an all-pro just a couple seasons ago, and maybe he might want some revenge against his former team in the Chargers, who traded him away, saw his role decrease quite a bit. I think Desmond King is a guy worth looking at. And then I'm going to call these two guys Paton's prospects, because these were two players that George Paton drafted when he was with the Vikings, starting with Xavier Rhodes, a first-rounder in 2018, looked like a really budding young cornerback who would develop into a star in this league. Had a down 2019, and the Vikings parted ways. And then he goes to Minnesota and returns to his former self, had a stellar 2020 season. And then Mackensie Alexander, another buy low nickel player, a nickel option, decent in coverage, can get into the backfield. Not quite the caliber of Xavier Rhodes in coverage, obviously, but like I said, he can hold up his own as well. These are just a couple of players that the Broncos might consider looking into. You know, they could always draft a Surtain or a Farley, obviously, with that number 9 overall pick and lock down one side of that secondary for hopefully years to come. But there are options out there. This is one I want to show to you guys, that if the Broncos choose to go with a linebacker or an offensive line prospect, not a cornerback, there are still options out there that the Broncos can use some of their cap space, but not too much, and solidify that corner position. So I just gave you 3 names, and I'll ask you to pick one of them. You can type in DK for Desmond King, XR for Xavier Rhodes, or MA for Mackensie Alexander. Who would you choose to sign if you were George Paton? These are just a couple options. Maybe you think it's none. Let me know in the comments section. Just type none, and let me know why if you really want to. We're going to end today on a little bit of news here. The Broncos have hired their new DB coach, Christian Parker, who spent the last 2 seasons as the Packers' defensive quality control coach. He's obviously going to replace Ronaldo Hill, who is now the Chargers' new defensive coordinator. Has some experience in the college ranks before making his way to the NFL. 6 seasons of collegiate coaching, most notably with Notre Dame in 2017, Texas A&M in 2018. He was a wide receiver and cornerback at Richmond, but now will look to develop as the Broncos' new DB coach. I think Parker's going to have his work cut out for him once we get to training camp, because I think this is a secondary that could look very different than it did this season. Obviously, the whole situation around Justin Simmons, you hope they bring him back, but there are also questions around guys like Kareem Jackson. We've talked about the Broncos potentially cutting A.J. Bouye. What will they do at nickel? Where does Michael Ojemudia fit in? I think Bryce Callahan is really, as of now, the one player that is locked in to his starting job next season. But I hope the other one is Justin Simmons, because re-signing him is priority number 1. I've said it time and time again. You pay him top safety money, he could wind up being the highest paid safety per year in football if the Broncos choose to give him that sort of contract. And I think he merits it just based off of market value, the way it's trended in recent years. You got to keep Justin Simmons in Denver if you want to keep that secondary strong. The Broncos were 15th in passing defense this year, and a huge reason for that was Simmons and Callahan. I think those are 2 pieces you want to build around. I'll end on this question for you guys, and it's a very important one. Will Denver re-sign Justin Simmons? Type Y for yes, type N for no. As of now, I want to say yes, but, you know, it's kind of hard to tell. It depends on how much he'll want, how much the Broncos will be willing to give, and we'll get to know more over the weeks and months to come. So be sure to subscribe down below. Mock draft video coming very, very soon for you. So be sure to stick around for that, and we'll see you next time.